Are you on the fence about whether to fix up that old guitar or get a shiny, brand spankin' new one? Today, I help you make the right decision for the situation that you're in. So stay tuned. Hello and welcome, friends, to episode 145 of the Play Guitar Podcast. I'm Lee, and this is the podcast that's determined to make you a better guitar player. No matter if you're just starting out or you've been playing for years, this is the show that will help you become the guitarist that you always wanted to be. If you're new here, make sure to subscribe to the podcast and check out the description below for all of the links I talk about in the show. Should I upgrade my guitar or should I buy a new or used one? Well, that depends on really two things: the guitar that you already have and what your current situation is. Taking both of these into account, that's the trick to making a good decision and getting the most out of your money. And we're going to do this today by running through the three main reasons that I've heard students over time give me for coming in with a new guitar, and also for seeing if the guitar you already have is worth working on or it's just time to make the big leap for a new one. And after that, make sure you stay tuned all the way to the end, where I help you prepare for the main issues that you deal with when you make that big decision and start upgrading or buying guitars. To really get a handle on this, we have to figure out something. There's something wrong with your guitar. There's got to be a reason for it. You want to either move on to something else or fix it up to make it work better for you. So once you get that under your finger, once you understand exactly what the problem is, now we can make some really good decisions. So here's the three reasons that I usually hear before someone goes out to purchase a guitar. It's usually either my guitar doesn't play well, or two, my guitar doesn't sound right, or three, I just want something else. Let's go through each of these. So number one, the first one, my guitar doesn't play well. You hear, I bought this guitar, I want to like this guitar, but it doesn't feel right. You ever run into this? Your guitar feels like it's fighting you when you just want to play it. Here's a few reasons you might be dealing with this and what's the best course of action for your situation. So number one, it's not set up correctly. This is the big one. Happens to everybody. Electric guitars can be adjusted to play in a million different ways. You could give me a perfectly playable guitar and in a few minutes, give me an Allen wrench and I can make it completely unplayable. I could make you hate that guitar only after a few strums. And then the opposite is true. I could adjust a few things and make it play better than it was before. With acoustic guitars, while it's not as easy to do that, it's not as user-friendly to adjust them, but you could have the nut slots and the bridge height incorrect, and it can make playing it a real drag. So no, you don't need a new guitar or an upgrade in this instance. You need a setup. You'll never know just how good your guitar could be until you have it set up correctly for you. That's the operative thing, for you. What one player likes in a setup is not the same as what another player likes. Any upgrades to a guitar that's not set up correctly will not solve your problems. So what do? You find a local music store or you find a luthier nearby and get your guitar set up correctly. And do this before you make any big decisions. How about another part of that? The design of your guitar is not correct for the purpose that you want to use it for. And this is where it gets tricky. And it depends on your situation. It happens a lot with new guitar players. You buy a new guitar because it's affordable and it looks the way you want. But when you try to play certain styles of music, it falls flat. Not all guitars can do all things. You most likely not be able to play like shred speed licks on a big box hollow body guitar. It's not going to happen. The issue is that as a new guitar player, you didn't know that some guitars perform differently than others. You just bought a guitar and you wanted to get started. So do you start to upgrade your guitar to make it do things that it wasn't intended to do in the first place. In this instance, I don't think that makes sense. There's a big learning curve to upgrading guitars, and it can get expensive. Although it's a fun hobby to have, but if this guitar's, you need a main guitar, this is going to be your main guitar, you're taking a risk that it might not turn out the way you want. It's going to take time, and it's definitely going to take more and more of your money. But later on down the road, once you're skilled enough to know what style you want to play, and that your current guitar was not designed to do that, spend some time to find out, well, what are the common guitars of that style? And get one of those. It's that easy. In the long run, you're going to save yourself a ton of time, a ton of money, and a ton of frustration just by taking a few steps back and getting the right tool for the job. Think of it just like that. Okay, here's the last reason why your guitar may not play well. It needs to be repaired. It could be your guitar's not in working order. Especially with some cheaper guitars, they come with their own set of problems. And if you're a new guitar player, you wouldn't know what to look for. You wouldn't know to look for that. Misaligned necks, improperly routed bridges, or your pickups are in the wrong place. It could be a bad fret job. It could be faulty wiring, a warped neck, cracked headstocks. It just keeps going. There's tons of these problems. And a lot of newer players, they don't know the difference. And they keep playing these guitars thinking that, well, this is how it's supposed to play. It's very frustrating. And a guitar that doesn't ever play right in the first place, it's no fun, and it leads to quitting the guitar. So what do you do? Do you just scrap it, or do you repair it? Well, in that instance, what you need is someone knowledgeable to give you their opinion. If it's an inexpensive, faulty component that if you replaced it or you upgraded it and it would fix a big problem, it could be worthwhile. It could make your guitar play like it never played before. But you always have to weigh the cost as well. If the price of your guitar is nowhere as much as the cost of repairing it, then you might want to look at something else that doesn't have those kind of problems. Okay, so the next big problem that people have and that leads them to go and want to get a new guitar, upgrade the guitar, is they say it doesn't sound right. The guitar just doesn't sound right. And this one's very frustrating too. Your guitar doesn't sound like the songs that you want to play. And there's several reasons that this could happen. The first one is your guitars may not be being used correctly. The adjustments of the controls of your guitars, it can vary the sound tremendously. If you don't understand how to use the volume or the tone or the pickup controls correctly, you might be really, really, really close to the sound that you want, but so far away because you're just not there yet. It requires some research and some experimenting. Spend some time trying out all of the combinations of the settings on your guitar. Play a little bit on all of them and spend some time investigating and asking questions about how your favorite players use the controls on their guitar. And if after that you find you're still nowhere close to your desired sound, then it's time for a well-planned and well-researched purchase of a different instrument. Here's another reason why your guitar may not sound right. Maybe you don't have the right style pickups for what you want to be using it for. Electric guitar pickups are a huge topic all to themselves. Two of the same type of guitar, if they had two different types of pickups in it, they will sound nothing like each other. It's a huge change in tone. If your guitar is the right type for your style and you like to play it, but it just doesn't sound right, an investigation into what pickups are installed in your guitar and then what pickups are common for the style of music you like to play could be just what you need. And definitely an upgrade would be in order for this instance. Pickups are fairly easy to replace. A little bit of soldering, it's a little bit of a skill you need to learn, but other than that, they're a good, affordable aftermarket pickups available for you. And if you're not happy with that, they're really easy to just swap it back and put the old one back in. Pickup replacement is an easy way to get started upgrading your guitar, where a little bit of effort gives you big and immediate results. Well, here's another reason it may not be sounding the way you like it. It needs some adjustment or it needs some repair. The way a guitar is set up can affect the sound, as well as what we talked about before with the playability. If your pickup height is too low, your guitar's not going to sound very loud and strong through an amplifier. It'll sound weak. And if your pickup height may be too high, you might start getting some weird harmonics, a harsh sound, or even an out of tune sound on your low E string, especially up higher on the neck. How about the nut slots? If your nut slots are too tight, have you ever been tuning and you hear that ping sound? That's what it's from. The slot is too tight, and those strings can slip out of tune while you're playing at a moment's notice when you have a too tight nut slot. Any of this sound familiar? I know it sounds. I've dealt with that for years. This is another instance of getting an outside opinion before you make any decisions. You could have something small adjusted, like these things I mentioned, that would make your guitar play amazing and sound amazing. Or it might not be worth the money. Your money might be better spent on something else. Well, the last thing that I hear when I have a student who's bought a new guitar and I ask them, well, what'd you get a new guitar for? I hear this: I just wanted something else. In other words, there's nothing wrong with the guitar. I just wanted more guitars. You want more than this. And that's okay. Sometimes you need to have a few guitars. I get it. I understand. That's not so wrong, I don't think. One reason, having a backup guitar, especially when you're getting ready to start playing out. It's a very smart thing to have. Strings break, electronics cut out right in the middle of a performance. Lots of things can happen. So having a guitar on standby, it's a very, very smart idea. And also having a few different guitars, they can help with inspiration as well. Some guitars make you play differently, and it can be refreshing. If you play the same guitar all the time, you feel like you're in a rut. Switch to the other one. See what happens. It's a lot of fun. I like to do that a lot. Another reason why you might just want something else is what you've got may not be the right tool for the job. You might want to be able to cover different tones for different styles of music. Lots of people, when I started, usually everybody played, this guy played this style and that guy played that style. Now, everybody plays a little bit of everything. And trying to make one guitar cover all of those different styles, it doesn't always work out very well. It rarely sounds convincing that way. And the other reason that you just might want something else is your guitar's not fun to play. Sometimes it's just a bad match. It could be the width of the neck doesn't fit your hand, or it could be the way the body is shaped. It may be you're having to hunch over the guitar a lot, or it could be too wide, or it could be the actual wood, the tone wood the guitar is constructed of. Maybe it doesn't sound good to you. It doesn't resonate the way that you would like it to. Lots of different reasons why a guitar just is a bad match for you. And in this instance, I would replace that guitar immediately. Get rid of it. Sell it. There are a lot of good, affordable guitars out there. And life is too short to waste time playing a guitar that's not fun to you. It needs to go. I've held on to guitars like this in my life where I wanted it to work. These guitars sound great when someone else plays it. Why is it not working for me? And I'd hold on to it and I keep trying to make it better. And at some point, you got to realize that it's just not working out. It's time to move on. Okay? So there you go. These are my recommendations for either upgrading or buying a new guitar. And I appreciate you staying around. And here's that little bonus I was talking about. Here's the main issues that I found when I'm upgrading or buying new guitars. Let's talk about upgrading. First, the biggest issue with upgrading is people who think that they're adding value to their guitar, monetary value. And that's not the case. You're not going to get back the money that you put into the guitar. It has never happened for me. I don't know many people who've upgraded their guitars with expensive components and later on sold them getting more money for the guitar. It just doesn't happen. And it's surprising at first, but a lot of people just do it for themselves. And they just, and if, in fact, with a lot of components, I've done this before, is I'd take a cheap guitar and maybe I'd upgrade the pickups or the bridge or something like that. But I keep the old one in like a plastic bag in the garage or something like that. And then when it's time, if I wanted to get rid of the guitar, I would take those more expensive components off and transfer them to another guitar and then sell that guitar or give that guitar away with the old ones in there. So, because I know it's not gonna bring the value of the guitar up at all. Another issue about upgrading guitars is it can be a rabbit hole, kind of like the gear rabbit hole. Take for example the search for the best components for a Strat, right? Especially Strats because it's a modular guitar. Everything can be replaced, It can be never ending. You can try this, try that. And it just goes over and over and over again. Never ends. So, but on the flip side, it's fun. It can be a lot of fun to do that. So, take that into consideration. How about when you're buying a new guitar or even a used guitar? What are some issues you're going to deal with that? Well, the first one is new guitars are most likely not going to be set up the way that you like. You could try a guitar and think it's crap, right? But with the few turns of the truss rod, all of a sudden the same guitar becomes fantastic. When I know that one of my guitars is set up properly, I look at it differently. I want to play it. Where if I know I have one of my other guitars, I'm looking at them right now, one of my other guitars, and I know there's an issue with it's not playing properly, I just look at it differently. Even though it doesn't look any different, these are tiny little adjustments. But when you say you go to the guitar store, you try something out and it doesn't feel right, don't turn it down right away. Don't turn a guitar down just because it didn't feel right the first time you played it. You need to start paying attention to the things that you like about the guitars that aren't adjustable. Things like scale length. How that's the distance between the nut and the saddles. And it's different. A Strat, a Fender scale length is different than like a Paul Reed Smith. It's different than a Gibson scale length. Shorter scale lengths are easier to bend, they're looser, and longer scale lengths are tighter. They have a tighter feel like a Fender. How about neck width, right? How wide of a neck or what shape of the neck do you like? These aren't adjustable things. So if you buy a guitar that isn't that way, no matter what you do to the guitar, it's never going to feel right. Weight of a guitar is a big deal. I had a guitar when I was in high school. It was a Les Paul. It was awesome, but it was really heavy. It was very heavy, and it was no fun to play. It's fun to sit down and play, but anytime I had to stand up and play, it was no fun. How about tone woods? Do you like like Stratocasters? There's alder, and then I have an ash Strat too, and they both sound a little differently. And you need to figure out what tone woods do you like the best, or the type of bridge you like to use, or the style of fret wire, how high or wide fret wire that you want to. These are the things that when you try a new guitar out to pay attention to, because the things that pop at you, like the nut or the fret height or the saddle height, the way the truss rod is adjusted, what pickups are in it, the tuners that are on it, strings even. People don't like it because it has the wrong strings that they don't use. All those things can be replaced and they can be adjusted. But when you're buying a new guitar, try to see through that. Pay attention to those things, and that can make or break the way you feel about a guitar. Okay, well, so once you get your guitar playing right where you want it, it's time to get your own playing great. And if you struggle with guitar solos, I have something for you. Having a solid understanding of blues lead guitar, that's the first step. Does in lots of different styles of music, blues is kind of the core, and it helps you in different places. Strengthening your foundations with lead guitar in 6 easy steps with my free course, which is called Get Your Blues Solos Under Control, is available to you. Just head on over to freeblueslesson.com and you can sign right up. It's easy to do, and you will join a whole lot of happy players who are moving forward with their blues and blues-based solos. Okay, there we go. Thanks for hanging out with me. That's a wrap. Thanks for joining me today for the Play Guitar Podcast. Make sure to hit the button below to subscribe to the show. And if you're watching on YouTube, hit the notification bell so you can get all of my content as soon as it comes out. For more episodes, lessons, and ways to get involved with the Play Guitar community, visit playguitaracademy.com. Thanks again, and I'll see you on the next episode.